when you get that offer agreement signed and you're under contract, you want to do a research. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many cars in the garage. So we get all that pieces of information in, and then we start sketching right away on the architecture side. Rooftops, especially in the beach, they are considered the best return on investment for elements in a project.
You know the market, you're in it. It's not, somebody who's out of Miami from the outside looking in trying to do it, but like, our market, our zoning. Are you thinking about moving to Miami and you want to build your own property? Well, today I have an expert. I have my friend Matias on. He's going to talk to us about everything that you need to know about building new construction. Thank you so much for hopping on. It's great to chat with you today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Awesome. Well, Matias, just to kick it off to those who are listening to us or watching us, could you tell us just a little bit about your background and yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am originally from Chile. I got my architecture degree over there, and I went to Miami. I grew up when I was very little in Miami, and I came back to Miami to start with the family real estate business because I had my architecture background. And 2 or 3 years later, I got my actual architecture license, and I got all this experience from the real estate business. And then I founded my firm, and I said, you know what? Let's go to hell with this with some architects that didn't have such a good experience with, and that's why I decided to take my registration. And like, they're not for developers or realtors, investors, I mean. And I got that firm going on, and what we do is we work with developers and investors to build high end or mid scale or whatever residential projects, to get that better return on investment and build nice things too. Not everything is money. It's important, yes. And so yeah, that is more or less my background, where I'm coming from. Today, my firm, MIK Architecture, we're solely based in Miami. We do South Florida projects, mainly I would say like 95% for investors, developers that want to build spec homes, ground up, and that have an interest in the contemporary style more than Florida or traditional styles, and having fun in the process too.
I know. What's better than to build new construction in
Right?
Miami, like one of the hottest markets, the sexiest markets. Everybody wants to be here with the weather. Speaking of just like your design and the firm, maybe you could tell our listeners like just what would you say is like your design philosophy? Like when you sit down with a client, like how do you get started? What do you even, how do you start? A client comes to you and says, Matias, I want to knock down this house and build something new. Like, where do you even get started?
Well, the first thing, and I want to suggest to anyone, when you get that offer agreement signed and you're under contract, you want to do a research, a thorough research. I'm not talking about the title research. That is done by lawyers and the title insurance, and they take care of that. But you want to do the zoning research, and you want to do the what can you build research, because you do the ground up, and that gives you a very important piece of information for your pro forma to see if the business is actually going to be profitable, or the return is going to be within the margins of when things happen, so you can absorb it a bit. So the first thing I tell them is, once you get that contract, call me at the very next minute. As soon as you step out of the door, or as soon as you get that offer approved, call me and we'll figure out the timing. But we're going to do that, and that we call it a feasibility study. And what we want to do with that is, not only zoning codes for the specific site, but sometimes the site have problems that are physical. Sometimes it's a tree that it's hard to move. It's going to cost money to move. Sometimes it's something very stupid, like an I don't know, just thinking out loud. There's a dent in the lot, and you can't fill. In most cases, you can't fill today. So a swale, like a swale or something that is a natural thing, that it might be an issue. Well, sometimes we had to say no to we had told the client, advice not to buy it, because this was lower than the street, and it was lower than the neighbors, so all that lot was getting all the flooding of everything. When it poured, like rain poured, it would probably get flooded in some areas that you don't want that happening. And well, there's some intricacies there, but you want that architect to do that feasibility study for the research of codes, for the research of the lot itself. And when you're done with that, you get most of the picture explain it to you to understand what can you build and how big in the program, and then we bring in realtors like you. Hey, what are the comparables around? Can we build something like the comparables? Can we build something better? Has to, if we can't build the same size, what can we do to compensate? And that's when the designing gets started. So that's pretty interesting, also, of course. But yeah, that is the first step: feasibility study. Hopefully before the hard contract, so you can
Mhm.
step out of the contract when you can,
Right.
if it comes to it, and then go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think a lot of people, they get super excited and they're like, I'm going to build this, 2-story, 3-story. And then, like you said, it could just be like a little thing where like the flooding, or, maybe the lot is a little awkward, or a tree. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that, like, there's certain trees that you can't remove, right? Like, or you
Correct.
can't cut them down. In certain cities, they have regulations, right?
Yeah, correct. And you might be able to relocate them, but if the relocation can bring a lot of cost to the project, and sometimes that extra additional cost doesn't make the project worth it. I mean, it goes into another small mistake, and during construction. In construction, there's always going to happen something, so you
Right.
always have to have that margin of error. But when that's return is too tight, you just don't want to risk it. The risk is too big, and more than the risk of money is the risk of time.
Right.
How extra time is going to take me that? Because if you have one person saying, "Hey, I'm against the tree relocation," you might get the tree relocation going some point. But what? It's going to be a year, 2 years, and in any investment, time is key.
Yep. It kills all
With
deals, right? The
Yeah,
carrying
1 year
costs.
delay.
Yeah. And then
Yeah,
you're negative. A good deal turns bad over one tree, right? So
right.
I definitely see the feasibility study. I mean, while you're under contract, hopefully before or during that inspection period where you can cancel, and, just not move forward on the deal, or confirm that it's a really good deal and then you move forward. So, Matias, like, let's
Exactly.
say the deal is good. We did the feasibility study. Like, what does the next step look like after you say, okay, Joe, like, this lot is great. We could definitely tear it down. We can build on it. Like, what's the next step in the process?
The next step is to sign the architecture agreement. No, the next step, of course, is doing the schematic design, doing the design itself, and that's where a lot of different components, different people come in. Again, before grabbing the pencil, I like to do a lot of research
Mm-hmm.
on, okay, what are we looking for? What do we want to? Who do we want to sell the project to? What
Okay.
is the the we got the size of it, but what is the program itself? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? How many cars in the garage or carport? Shoot, it's a carport or it's a garage. So we get all that pieces of information in, and then we start sketching right away on the architecture side. And this is from that point on, we want to run and we want to rush it to get into permits. We can fix stuff while being, getting the permits, but
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to rush it to that point. And it usually takes like 2 months for consultants, engineers, structural engineers, mechanical engineers to grab their plans and put it 100%. It all
Mm-hmm.
depends on the first step, the schematic design phase. That it's hard because you gotta design it very quick, but really smart as well. Because once you finish that schematic design and you approve it, and we all agree on everything, we don't want to change anything on production because that's gonna take us more time. And we're really focused on that part of the time because all the key indicators and the investment lean on that. Did we save a month or did we spend 1 month? And it changes a lot, and especially if you pay for cash, which is or investment when you're paying interest, when
Yeah.
you're sorry lending. That's the second part, the schematic design. Very fast but very smart. So
Okay.
yeah, we could do it in a week maybe, but probably we're gonna have some issues later, because we want to get input from the developer, we're going to get input from the realtor, we're going to get input from some engineers when we identify them on the feasibility study. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
some engineers, depending on the city, we're going to need a civil engineer, and because of the drainage, because if it's in a flood zone, shoot. So yeah, we can build 80% of the lot maybe, or 50% of the lot, but we have a bunch of trees and we got this and that. Okay, we're going to have to do a French drain. Are we sure we're going to do just one or two? So in the schematic design, while we haven't solved all of that yet, we're already thinking about it. We're thinking about the
Mm-hmm.
structure, if it has piles, if it has a foundation, a typical foundation. and all of that small things. Pool, goddamn pools. Not only take space for rain, the stormwater disposal. The
Yeah,
stormwater absorbance of the
like
lot.
runoff, like they collect
Yeah, the
the
runoff, the
rainwater.
runoff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you have to keep the runoff on your lot, and you have to of the whole lot, you have to deduct the house, the driveways, and the pool.
Mm.
So most of the time, you end up with a small portion of the lot that is going to absorb all this runoff. And of course, with a big rain, they won't. So you have to have a French drain here, a French drain there, whatever. So all of those small items, you sketch it on the architecture. It's not going to be a week.
Hmm.
It's usually takes us a month or two, depending on how many stuff we talk with and how fast we get the responses. But after that, we get a very, very nice project where we can already start doing renders and almost, so I have clients that a month later than after the schematic, we agreed on the schematic, they start marketing the house to sell. I
Oh
think that's a
wow.
bit crazy, but still, that's you never know.
Yeah.
You can start testing the market, and
Yeah.
after that, we get the engineers on board, and we rush them and we push them and we push them and we collaborate and we sync and we coordinate everything and we get that into permitting. Once we're permitting, we breathe a bit more
Yeah.
because the permit people are slow. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I definitely, the permits are what my clients tell me, even just like a little bathroom renovation to like what you guys do. I mean, permits do take time, right?
absolutely, absolutely, and and you can get delayed so easily with one small comment that you didn't realize or that they added that they shouldn't be there. So how and it happens,
Hmm.
and it happens. You have to. There's not much we can do about that. We can talk with it with a reviewer, and you eventually get that solved. You always get
Hmm.
it solved. The question is how long does it take?
Right. How much time?
Yeah, and this is all in the investors and developers mentality that you're doing this project for investment. If you're a homeowner, of course you want to have everything as fast as can, but it hurts a bit less, a bit less.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, speaking of building for investment versus for a primary residence, are there any trends or some differences that you see between a client who contacts you for investment and to build versus like a primary residence?
Primary residence to build. In terms of style, the private clients, we call it, or homeowners, they have their style. Then they want it custom built to their needs and wants, of course.
Hmm.
But and we're talking about people that come to us for contemporary homes because
Hmm.
I don't really take other styles. I mean, it's
Hmm.
like the first questions I ask them. Okay, what style do you want? No, yeah, traditional, blah blah blah. Sorry, I'm not your guy for that. I'm gonna
Got it.
lie to you.
And I think that's
I'm more
great
of
though
a
that you focus on that niche, right?
yeah. Right there. If people are seeing the video in the background, that's one of our
Uh-huh.
projects. So yeah, we that's our niche. Our niche is contemporary homes, where we like to call it also. Try to do more of the tropical modern. Let's call it. It's very. That's the trend today, I would say, in Miami,
Yeah.
which means a more contemporary home, with flat roofs or minimalistic, but natural materials, but also mixing it with vegetation and a lot of landscaping and investing a lot of money in a very nice landscaping that is mixed together with the architecture. And I think that is a big trend that's coming for both sides,
Hmm.
both the spec homes and the private homes. With the small, there's always something that the homeowner wants that I wouldn't do it in a spec home. There's always one small element, big or
Yeah.
small. It's way too custom. But other than that, yeah, those are I would say are the very nice trends, and I think Miami's gonna get very nice architecture in the coming years. We're already getting it, but we're getting a lot of great architects here that are designing good stuff, amazing stuff, and they're mixing these vegetation with the project itself, and it's great because it ages very well because vegetation ages amazing. So when you mix it with a structure, that
Right.
looks even better.
Yeah, when it, I'm just thinking like when it all grows in, right? When it like is mature and when
Yeah,
it finally
exactly.
like takes life after maybe like a couple months to a year, I could imagine how it could really transform a property, right?
Not only that, also imagine that same vegetation that's grown in a year, yeah, but imagine it in 5 years or in 10. Uh,
Right.
and it will maintain, of course. It grows even better. It grows even denser. It grows with the structures. You have to paint every other. I don't know. Well maintained house. You have to paint it every 2 years,
Hmm.
especially if it has colors and dark colors and In Miami, you have to paint it every other year. But
Sun,
with
the
the
elements.
vegetation, yeah, exactly. But with vegetation and landscaping, yeah, you have to maintain it every month in Miami, especially in Miami. But with the years, you don't have to paint again. I mean, you have to paint, of course, but you don't have to paint vegetation.
Hmm.
So I don't know, it gets covered, and there's a very good phrase that any architecture, good or bad, gets better with vegetation because it gets covered by it.
Hmm. Totally.
So yeah.
What other design elements, like besides vegetation, do you see being used nowadays? Like, is it a lot of glass? Is it a lot of
Oh
wood?
yeah.
What other trends are you
Yeah.
noticing?
Yeah, I got stuck with vegetation because I really like it. But big glass, lots of natural light coming in. And so not only big storefront facades, you could say, but also if you have smaller ones, a lot of the small ones. People are asking a lot of natural light in bathrooms, a lot of natural lights in walk-in closets, a
Uh-huh.
lot of natural light. Not necessarily that you open them, because let's be honest, when do you open a window in Miami if it's not to step out? It's like twice a year maybe.
Right.
But it's more of the having natural light, and that natural light with big overhangs, so it's just light and not the sun. And then also the materials both inside and outside, lots of wood, stone, and of course our favorite limestone,
Yep.
our favorite local limestone. People are asking a lot of that too, the floors and the facades.
Hmm.
And I think it make and that's in both cases. Yeah, both cases have that. And sometimes we get the you know Latin people that, or European people that want to also bring European stone for the facades. And but in the end, again, anything that is natural materials, not vegetation itself, but you're talking about stone or the wood, and that gives more warmth than the typical white ice box home. Yeah, we got a lot of white in this home right in the back, but we
Hmm.
mixed it a lot with wood too, and those are big trends that are happening. And high ceilings. Oh my god,
Yeah.
the highest ceiling you can get, we put
Uh-huh. Floor to
all of
ceiling
them. I ask them.
windows, right?
Floor to ceiling windows, but also 10-foot ceilings, 12-foot ceilings, 14-foot ceilings, whatever, how many, whatever height you can get as maximum. Yeah, you got to get there.
And that goes back to the
So
feasibility study, seeing how tall you can build that
yeah,
building, right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. How tall can you build? How many levels? And another tendency for more high end stuff is rooftops.
Mm,
Rooftops, especially in the beach, they are considered the best return on investment for elements in a project. And because the others are more like basic, you could say. I mean, you need
right.
these because if you don't, you won't sell it. I mean, you should know better. Like what type of stuff the clients ask you when they're buying. Probably high
Right.
ceilings and natural light. But if they got the
Definitely.
the rooftop, that's a big plus. That it's like, oh, between one and the other, I'm going with a rooftop for sure.
Yeah, especially if you have that hot tub on top or a small pool. That's like the cherry on top that
Yeah.
that makes people say, "This is my house. This is what I want." And then if you can add a beach view or a water view on top of that, that is like checks all the
Wow.
boxes.
Yeah. I mean,
Can't say no to that.
how slow do you sell them? Sorry, how fast do
Yeah.
you sell those?
Yeah, those go, within 30, 45 days, maybe sooner, for sure.
Wow, amazing.
So for the person watching who is thinking about getting into new development, who is looking for that lot in Miami or Miami Beach, what would you say are like their first steps? Like, where should they get started? How do they work with you?
The first steps to work with me, I would say, once you have that lot on mind, and you always want to get the offer as soon as possible because it's such a crazy market still. I mean,
Hmm.
it's getting slower, but still, things get good opportunities get closed very very fast.
Yep.
So I would tell them, you saw a lot, you saw an opportunity, even if you're not 100% sure about it, try to close that soft contract,
Hmm.
the offer agreement, but try to put it 15 days to do an inspection. And once you do that, get either my team on board to try to research, or any architect that offers this feasibility studies. Not many do. I don't know if you know any other architects. I'm happy to study all the properties in Miami, but we don't have the resources for that. And yeah, you contact us. Hey, got this thing. We got the closing on this day. The hard contract goes in effect this day,
Hmm.
and we're looking to do this or that. And sometimes we've got emails like that, and they want to do a 6 unit townhome on a single family lot. I'm like, and just do a quick research. No, you can't. Oh,
Yeah.
can we change the zoning code? You could. Like, I
Yeah,
don't do it.
that's a process. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
long time to change zoning code in Miami. Yeah.
even start listening to you. But yeah, so you can text me, shoot me, whatever we want to do, and we'll take it from there and say, yeah, what you're trying to do is it looks feasible. Let's go with a feasibility study,
Uh-huh.
and then we wrap it up and say, hey, yeah, I suggest you move forward,
Hmm.
and then I give you, of course, the architecture fees, but that's another topic.
Of course. Yeah, no. But that's kind of how the process starts. Can we actually build on this lot? What are the zoning regulations? I think that's totally like the right
Yeah,
place to start, just so that you're not wasting time and then that contract goes hard, but you can't do what you really wanted to do. So I think that's
right.
a great call out, just to get started with feasibility. What are
Yeah.
some other things that you see buyers make mistakes on? What are some of the mistakes that you see clients when they try to do a new build, whether they're private or investor?
For new build, well, not doing the due diligence, of course. And again, we're going back to feasibility study, but I don't know. It's so important for me to lay down a good foundation, and that's
Hmm.
what the study does. Now, on the other hand, people that want to do flips like renovations, the biggest mistake, and I see this way too often, is buying something to remodel and not look into the flood zone, because FEMA has a very strict rule that if you're going to renovate more than 50% of the cost of the structure, not even the whole thing, the structure itself, and that structure is lower than the base flood elevation, then you have to bring everything up. And that is not worth it. So then you have to cut it down and start fresh.
Wow.
So anyone that's thinking, hey, I'm going to remodel or the second thing, do you want to build a second floor on top of the first floor? No way.
Hmm.
You have to redo the foundation for that. So it's better to build new than won't build new. And what I mean about that is that typically in Florida and Miami, the foundations were very narrow.
Hmm.
So if you want to build a second floor, you had to make it wider. That means opening the inside and the outside,
Uh-huh.
and making it wider. And at the end, it's not really worth it. So
Yeah.
I would say like those are the two biggest mistakes I've seen on people wanting to invest, that they go way too fast on that, and or they on during the soft period, the soft contract period, they just start and they wait for the title insurance. Because yeah, why would you spend money doing research if the title is wrong, is bad, if there's something wrong with it? I get it, but then the other part is even harder to get rid of if it's not a
Right.
good build.
So, Matias, I know that there are a ton of architects in Miami. It feels like almost everyone's brother or sister does some type of architect, thing.
That's
What
so true.
makes your team and your company different?
I would say, and this is again thinking of realtors. I mean, real estate developers and investors, and realtors too. Oh my, let's
Mhm.
be honest. We help you guys.
We all work
I would
together, right?
say, right, yeah, we do. And I would say the big difference that we have with other architecture firms is that we understand the business because we've been part of the business before, and we even do developments ourselves. And part of
Hmm.
our actual mission is to do our own developments in 2030. So I would say that us being part of the vision, we're in your shoes, so we understand what the pains are for developers and investors, because we also are them, and that is our priority. We look for that, and that's our niche. So on top of that, we have an amazing collaboration with a builder and another developer. So if you want to come as an investor and talk to us, we can give you the whole thing with turnkey project. It just, you like the return on investment, you don't like it, amazing, great, all of us are not.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, I mean, what really makes you stand out to me, Matthias, is that like you know the market, you're in it. It's not, somebody who's out of Miami from the outside looking in trying to do it, but like our market, our zoning, you have experience working in the Miami area, so you know the ins and outs and the things that people who live out of the country might not know. Because I've actually had a client who hired an architect from outside the US to do like the design and the renderings. But then when it actually came
Oh
time
yeah.
to, like you said, the feasibility, like they had no idea that they couldn't build, they thought they could build on 90% of the lot, but in reality, you could only build on 50% of the lot because it was Miami Beach. So, that deal got killed, but, we wasted so much time. So I think definitely having the benefit of you being local and knowing what's going on in Miami, and also what people want to build in Miami for investment. Because, yeah, it's great that you have this vision of something that you think is going to sell. But in reality, after talking to me, after talking to you, Matias, that buyer is like, oh, wait, we should listen to Matias because he knows what's going to get us the best return on investment because you do this every
I mean, you summarize it a lot better than myself.
day.
Thank you for that.
Of
I want to add
course.
one more thing there is that because we have that we have got a great communication with the builder. It doesn't mean that my projects have to be built by them. By the way, but I get reports and almost live reports of what the projects are going over budget and
Mhm.
what things are great are very efficient. So we incorporate that into the workflow, into the design. So in the end, we get. I'm gonna say my projects are amazing design wise, but I think are pretty good, and I get a lot of those feedback. So you get a good project within a very efficient system of structure of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And at the end, it saves you time, it saves you money and cost, direct cost, because I got that feedback and that reality with a builder that gives me information to, and I also got people like you that gives me information about the market and what's changing or not. So yeah, please
No,
don't
this
bring
was
an
great.
architect from outside. Please
No.
don't.
And
I've tried to work.
oh, they'd find
It's
them
happened to
online. They just Google,
yeah.
cheap architect, or like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I had the two clients that were the same, and even I got an architect from another country that had the projects and came to me to like sign them, and I was like, well, first I don't sign off projects like without being involved, but
Yeah,
I saw it and I was like, yeah, but just for free. You can't do this and this and that because you're in Pinecrest. You're not in city of Miami.
right.
Or like you said, Miami Beach. Miami Beach is a very complicated zoning code, and they're
Mhm.
very picky. It's like, yeah, please, please get someone local.
Yeah, yes, always with a local expert. Matthias, this was so much fun, so much great information for those investors and those buyers out there. Any final thoughts? Any message you want to leave the viewers with?
No, I mean, only maybe if you want to talk or have a coffee with me, feel free to contact me. My email is hello@mikarch.com. Feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to share thoughts. And
Awesome.
we should of course meet as soon
No,
as I come back.
definitely. Definitely. When you're back in Miami, let's definitely grab a coffee. And Matthias, I will put your contact information in the show description below. So people who are interested in new builds, or their investors or private clients, they can reach out to you to learn more about your services. Matthias, thank you so much for being on this video. And I mean, just so much information about new build. I think the biggest one that people skip over is the feasibility study. So I'm so happy that you got to spend a lot of time talking about that, just so
So
that,
true.
people know what they get into and there's no surprises, good or bad, right?
Exactly. Joe, thank you so much for having me. This was very fun, and have a great year 2024.
Yeah, 2024 is going to be a great year. Maybe we'll do a couple new builds together, right?
Yeah, looking forward for that.
Awesome. Thanks again, Matthias.
Thank you.